Welcome, Aston. Mr. Bitterbaum, how are you? Sorry I didn't call you back today, but I was tied up all day. Busy. Yeah. I haven't figured out how to be two places at the same time. Mr. Rabbits is here. Art. How you doing, Art? I'd like to call this stated session of City Council order. Please rise for the invocation, followed by the pledge of the flag. Tonight we ask that you come to our aid. Tonight we ask that you grant us peace. Teach us peace, guide our steps in a way of peace. Open our eyes and our hearts to give us the courage to say peace, not war. With war, everything is lost. Instill in our hearts the courage to take the proper steps to achieve peace. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Milan?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Sultana? Here. And Mayor Pianto?
Here. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Approved in second. I'd like to amend the agenda to delete item 14F.
Do we have a second?
No, we don't have a second yet.
A second.
Moved in second discussion. I bring this up because it deals with something that I have no control over as a council member in the city of Easton. And I think it's very lopsided, the resolution. I don't think it's very balanced. I think we're all against war and the killing of innocent people, especially civilians, young and old. But I certainly don't think that this resolution should be part of a city council agenda. So I would move to, I moved in second and other discussion.
I'd just like to say, Mayor, I don't like the resolution either. However, in the past, we have voted on resolutions that do go beyond the city's scope of municipal legislation, where we've, supported or not supported certain issues. So I was, I don't think. Go ahead.
I believe as presented the resolution, it's just lopsided. And it doesn't even mention Hamas, who started the
Correct. I agree.
innocent attack on people. I just feel that if you're going to have and it also says that our state government has agitated the situation, and I think they're working behind the scenes to settle it. I mean, obviously, Israeli has pulled back from their ground invasion while talks can be held. I mean, I think there's work being done at the federal level where this is at. I believe you're right. We have done things where we've encouraged, for example, the state legislature to pass radar use in the city, but that affects us. That's not just a state law, but it affects directly the citizens of Easton for safer streets. So that's why I felt that this is, we've also approved resolutions for Black History Month. Again, Black History Month is something that's a national. It's federally mandated. I mean, we already have it. So I just offer that.
And I'm sorry, Dave.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't like the resolution either. It doesn't even mention Israel's right to defend itself, and I think it's a very poor resolution. But I did want to bring up that point.
Oh, I would be more than happy to vote against this resolution at the end of the meeting if that's what the city council decides that they want to have it on the agenda, I have no problem. Go ahead, Mr. Vice Mayor Brown.
I did want to say that also the resolution points out, things that we really, as you said, have no power. That's why they have different tiers of government. We're a local government. We're not a federal or state government where we have more power. And my thing is that I have friends on both sides of the table there, and my prayer is for peace for everyone, not to be put in a position where I have to do it by resolution and lose friends. We're one city. I mean, and we all get along very well.
Well, I would speak at the time of the resolution gets voted on if this doesn't pass, but it says, whereas the city of Easton cannot stand by idly, whereas the city of Easton values peace. I don't speak for the city of Easton, I speak as the council, so if it wants to say the city council of the city of Easton, that's fine. But you can't speak for the city, I certainly don't speak for Joel Shearer or Artie Ravitz. I mean, I think they would have a difference of opinion.
Whatever you feel like which is not correct, we can definitely revise the resolution. But I think this resolution is written very well because my focus is on ceasefire, not on Hamas or Israel military or anybody else. Just on civilians who have been killed since last 18 days, and the genocide is still continued. That's the purpose of the resolution. And as a local elected official, we do have a responsibility to stand up with our citizens. I understand it's a federal who votes, it's a Congress who votes, but everything starts from the bottom. This is where we will start.
I don't agree. I mean, I don't disagree with you. Absolutely, I don't disagree with you. But in your resolution, it only speaks to one side. It talks about Palestinians, and I'm all with that. I understand. But it says nothing about Israel, and you're putting council in a position where we got to choose, and that's an unfair situation. And that's why I said it's more on a level of federal government than it is on a local municipality or council to make that kind of decision or resolution forward.
Council members, standing up for human rights is not anti-Semitic, if this is what you are thinking.
No one's not standing up for human rights.
Standing up for the lives of newborn babies and children doesn't mean you are anti-Semitic. Calling our leaders for a ceasefire is not anti-Semitic. Saving hundreds and thousands of Palestinian lives is not being pro-Hamas, by the way. Passing this resolution is the bare minimum we can do to save as many lives as possible.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. We're power.
So I stand before the rest of the council and I request you to please continue this resolution, talk about it, we can make few changes and we can move on from this.
I'll call the question, Madam Clerk.
Okay, the vote to remove it was, a motion to remove it was made by Mayor Panto, seconded by Jim Ettinger, so we're gonna take a vote on to remove it from the agenda. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
No.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
No.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
The vote was 5-2 to remove it.
It's removed. Okay, action on our minutes, or
Mayor, we
anything
have-
else on approval of the agenda? We gotta approve that.
Yeah.
Move.
We have a motion made by Mr. Brown and seconded by Mr. O'Connell to approve the amended agenda. And that vote will be Mr. Ettinger,
Aye.
Mr. Milan,
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell,
No.
Dr. Ruggles,
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana,
No.
Mayor Panto,
Aye.
and Mr. Brown.
Aye.
So the amended agenda is approved on a 5-2 vote.
Action on our minutes of October 11th meeting.
Move the minutes.
Moved, is it second? Second. Second. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Roll call.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Mayor Pianto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
And Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
At this point in the meeting, we have a liquor license, transfer. Mr. Kingsley, you wanna come up? Marcel's here, but Mr. Kingsley will introduce the topic.
Thank you, Mayor. Before us, we have a request to transfer a license into the city of Easton, currently under the ownership of Street at 2 through 4 East Broad Street in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It would then be moved to Dadaloo LLC, doing business as Black and Blue. We have gone through the process of reviewing the application. It is complete. We've had it routed to local law enforcement and to our Department of Codes and Planning for review. They have all come back with no comments on it. The operator currently is operating under a special purpose license and has held a previous full liquor license at their location, and they have operated appropriately. So we have nothing further to offer on that front, and then we would just ask for any public comment or input from those in attendance as to their concerns or questions they may have related to this request.
Any questions from city council members about the liquor license transfer? Any members of the public would like to address this issue? Marcel, you wanna come up and just tell us why you need it?
Don't you drink?
And where it's,
Just moved them.
and our representative from Senator Boscola's office, would you like to say anything, Jimmy? Thank you. Okay, I guess we'll vote on that later.
Yep. Public comment.
At this point, we have public comment on agenda items only. Anything on the agenda that you'd like to address? Melanie?
Name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Melanie Morrow, 254 West Madison Street.
254.
Yes. West Madison. I just have a question. What is 14G resolution authorizing to proceed with and execute agreement of sale?
Mr. Kingsley, you want to address that? It's about the East Iron and Metal property. What is 14G, the agreement of sale for East Iron and Metal?
Oh, sure. Back in 2019, the Redevelopment Authority purchased the Easton Iron and Metal site for the purposes of redeveloping the property and repurposing and putting it back into productive use. The city has actually gone through a preferred developer process related to that property. We're now in a position where the Redevelopment Authority's work has been completed in terms of sourcing resources to actually complete the initial preparation of the site. We're now going to transfer title to the property to the city, which was always the intention, to allow it to complete the preferred developer process. Sure.
Cleaning up the site.
I mean, you should ask if that's answered her question.
Yeah, does that answer your question? Well, okay. Okay. And apologize for that.
Okay, anyone else from the public like to address city council on agenda items only? There is an opportunity to address city council at the end of the meeting on anything concerning the city of Easton. Okay, move on. We'll go to,
There are people
oh,
speak.
there's one.
Hi, it's my first time here, so I apologize. I believe there's a lot of newcomers, so are we still allowed to address Section 8?
I need your name and address first.
My name's Huma Khan,
Spell that, please.
Huma
Last name
Khan,
and your address.
761 Mock Chunk Street,
And where is that?
Easton, PA, 18042.
Thank you.
My question is, are we still allowed to address the ceasefire? I know a lot of us are new here.
At the end of the meeting, you'd be allowed.
Thank
to.
you.
It's not on the agenda.
Thank
No problem. Uma.
I mean, does it make a difference, Mayor?
Yeah, they should
I mean,
speak now.
with this now or later on, does it make a difference?
Doesn't make a difference to me. I just am
I
going
mean-
by the rules of the council.
No, I'm saying, but the agenda as, I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
as publicized,
Yeah.
You're right.
that's okay. I mean, it's
Go ahead.
now or later, so.
I'd like to thank everyone for their time. I believe a ceasefire is for both sides. I feel like the councilmen are confused. And I have 4 children, and I would like to say this community has been super kind to me and has never separated me or my children or my family. And I would like to say that I wish you would show that kindness to everyone, even internationally. And when I tell my kids to stop fighting, there's no need to name them individually. It's just stop fighting. Thank you.
Anyone else like to address city council? Yes,
We are allowed, just confirming, we are allowed to address now, right?
and now we're at the end, doesn't matter.
Great, thank
And I need your name and address.
you. Sure. Yassine,
Could you spell it?
Yasseen,
Last name?
Sale.
I'm sorry, S.A. what?
LEH,
Okay. And your address?
Lafayette College.
Okay.
So this is obviously my first time here. I wanted to just begin with saying thank you all for having us and allowing us to speak. I do hope that everything that is said here can be held in confidence to this meeting and that none of our safety will be in compromise. And that is unfortunately important to say during these times. That being stated, I do speak to all of the council members first.
Excuse me, in all fairness, that request, it can't be honored because you're on television right now. I mean, you're on video streaming right now. If there's any concern about this, you have to be aware that this is a public meeting, and therefore it's going to be broadcast. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Great, thank you. My point was not that I didn't want this to be publicized. I'm obviously aware that this is a pretty public gathering. My point was simply on the safety matter, assuring that everybody here, who we just gave our names, so obviously it's going to be public, but assuring that all of our safeties are respected, which is not a given, unfortunately, as I said. So, thank you for the clarification. I will continue as I was. I just wanted to speak as a student. I do believe that while certainly wording can be fixed, anytime that I've spoken up on this issue, I've made it quite clear the stance that should be taken, and I hope that I can address this clearly here as well, in hopes that this matter can be brought up. I do believe that every step of the way is an important step, and I do also believe that when we're talking about a ceasefire, I'm not talking about Israel, Hamas, Palestine, Muslim, Jewish. I'm not talking about any of these labels. I believe that whatever we need to do to make that clear to everybody should be done. Make amendments, do whatever you need to do. But what is important here is UNICEF has reported 2,300 children dying. So there is actually enough reason for me to stand in front of you and tell you that the government has not done enough to stop Israel. Just the same way that Hamas was able to get through, I think that it's important to recognize that Israel is getting through right now as well. So I think that by shutting down this resolution, we also shut down the voices of those who are trying to speak for the people that are dying. And I think that that is something that would be woefully wrong as a constitution that has always spoke for freedom of speech, that has always spoke for voices. We have the Statue of Liberty up to say we are here for all of those who need to be spoken for. So all I'm asking you today is not for Israel, not for Palestine, but for the sake of stopping the innocents that are in between, no matter what side they're on, stopping this killing. That's all I'm asking for in a ceasefire. And all I'm asking amongst you is, even if it doesn't make a difference on the federal scale, and I believe it will, but even if you believe humbly that you won't be able to change anything, I ask you knowing that it will change something, at least for all of us here, and that it'll start being a step along the way to allow these voices to be heard. And all we're asking for is the right to be heard, is the right for human lives. That's all we're asking. So I'd please ask you humbly to reconsider opening this resolution. Thank you all so much.
Sir, I just want to address, this is my resolution that would have been put in place if it did not be withdrawn. My resolution is 4 paragraphs. This resolution is 2 sides of a paper. I can't accept that. I'm sorry. I agree with ceasefire, but that's not what this says. It says more than that. Those whereases are full of inaccuracy or lopsidedness, and this one isn't. This one condemns Hamas for coming into attack on October 7th, but it also calls the same for Israel to stop their launching of rockets as well. I mean, you're destroying 2 countries. If you're against a 2-country system, that was decided back in 1948 after a world war. I don't want another world war to decide whether we should have 2 countries or 1 country. I thank you for coming in, though.
Mayor, if you allow me, can I just read the resolution for the record?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm just reading for the record. I know it's not going to pass, but it's for the record. It's a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire between Israel and occupied Palestine. Whereas the recent escalation of violation and tension between Israel and Palestine has brought this conflict to the forefront of the global attention. Whereas between October 7th and October 18, 2023, armed violence has claimed the lives of over 3,500 Palestinians, including 1,030 children and over 1,400 Israelis, including Americans, and wounding thousands more. Whereas targeting civilians no more than faith or ethnicity is a violence of international humanitarian law. Whereas the siege of 2.2 million Palestinians has created a humanitarian crisis with no access to water, fuel, electricity, and food. Whereas the presidency, our representative to Congress, and our representatives to the Senate have continued to agitate against ceasefire and in support of increased military escalation. Whereas the city of Easton cannot stand idly by while innocent lives are put at risk. Whereas the city of Easton values peace and human life. Whereas the city of Easton rejects fanning the flames of war and depriving people of the food, water, medicine, and shelter all human beings depends on. Whereas the federal government holds immense diplomatic power to save Palestinian lives. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the city of Easton, per our commitment to peace and humanity, condemns violence and barbarity. But be it further resolved, the city of Easton urged the Congresswoman Susan Wild to co-sponsor the ceasefire new resolution led by some Democratic House representatives. Number 2, urge Governor Josh Shapiro, Senator John Fetterman, Senator Bob Casey, and the Biden administration to immediately call for and facilitate de-escalation and ceasefire to urgently end the currently violence, and call upon the Biden administration to promptly send and facilitate the entry of humanitarian assistance into Gaza and seize additional military funding troops or weapon being brought to bear, which will be intensity the war. That's all. That's the resolution. It's just for the ceasefire. If you see, I spoke about both sides. I mentioned the lives that are lost from both sides.
Madam Councilman, you talk about agitating against a ceasefire. I don't know that the federal government is doing that. I mean, because we're preparing for a possibility of war by sending 3 armed aircraft carriers there, yes, we're showing our might, and we should show our might because might equals peace. And you got Iran right around the corner. One more outbreak, and I'll just clear the room. Might is, we're preparing for if there's a possibility. I want my life and my family protected too. So we're over there just to make sure. Listen, I had the pleasure of being invited to the International Conference of Mayors session in Israel probably 6-7 years ago. And I went over and 3 mayors shared a cab from Nazareth to Jerusalem. We had to get back to our hotel. And our cab driver for an hour and 20 minutes was Palestinian. And I had a nice chat with him on the way back. I said, well, how do you like living here? He said, I love living here. He says, my family has a better home. We have a more quality education, and we love it. I said, well, how do you get along with the Israelis? He says, we get along great. It's the governments that don't get along. And they're absolutely right. It's not, this is about our governments. It's not about people. Of course, we're all for ceasefire. I think everybody up here would be for ceasefire. But unfortunately, people get in office and want to become more powerful, I guess, these dictators. And unfortunately, we have a group that is really not nice. And they're in the United States. If someone tells me that Hamas is not in the United States, they're wrong. They're here. The terrorists are here. So we all want to cease fire. So if city council wants to, I would remand this. First of all, it didn't go to any committee first, and our rule is just before it gets on an agenda, it should go to a committee. But we don't have a committee on international affairs. I didn't know which committee to send it to. I don't know. It's not streets. It's not parks. It's not planning or codes. It's not public safety. Well, maybe it could be public safety. It could be, Roger. Could be yours. Public safety, because depending on if it gets to be a full-blown out world war, I guess it would be public safety. But my concern is some of the things in here are not correct.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Are you saying Palestinians are terrorists?
No,
Okay.
I tried to make the point. So you put words in my mouth all the time. That's why I'm afraid to
No,
speak.
you're talking because the people.
I think I said Hamas was a terrorist. I think I said
and
that.
we have not talking about Hamas at all. We are talking about civilians, the people who have lost their lives, not Hamas who killed. I'm not talking about military, Israeli military. We are not talking about Hamas. We are talking about civilians. We are talking about 2,300 children who have been killed in last 18 days. It's 128 children per day. We are talking about 12,000 bombs that have been dropped on Palestine, which is 700 bombs per day. We are talking about civilians. We are talking about humanity, human rights.
I don't think you heard anybody up here say anything differently. We're all concerned about the civilians. We're all concerned about the military.
And this is what is in the resolution.
I don't read it that way, and apparently neither do 5 other people.
If you want to remove the word agitated because that's something offends you, we can definitely remove. I'm agree to remove that word. But we definitely need to move on with the ceasefire and call our leaders to co-sponsor the ceasefire now resolution.
Excuse me, I'm only mentioning this as it's a technicality. You're discussing the quote ceasefire now resolution. Does anyone besides Councilperson Sultana have any idea what that resolution?
No, I looked up
provides for?
ceasefire new resolution.
I couldn't. I've been trying to find the
It's
language
resolution
there.
new, ceasefire now. It's not new. Ceasefire now resolution.
I know. I've been looking it up. I can't find
It's
the
all over
text.
on social media. I can
Well,
send you a copy.
yeah.
Is there
I'm not on social media, so I don't know. I just say that's a key phrase in that resolution, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how council can vote on something when they don't know what it is. But it's off the agenda, so we're getting into
allowed her
a
to do it.
hypothetical discussion, which you allowed comments beforehand, so it's open season, but it would be appropriate for a separate forum that doesn't have to do with city council business.
Gave in to the request of a councilman who wanted to read it into the record. I have no problem with that.
No, I agree with you there.
I'm just going to concur with the solicitor. Typically, while it is sometimes the norm that resolutions are put onto the agenda without debate in a committee, other times it makes sense to go to committee because it's a hot button issue. And in this particular case, this is one of those issues that words do matter. From what I'm hearing, everyone supports a ceasefire. Everyone supports peace. But the way we do business here is we do need to debate this in a committee, look at this, and massage the language. And that typically results in a better process. Right now, this process is flawed. And Mayor, if we may, since I'm asking as you're the chair, let's take this back to committee and have a discussion on it,
What committee?
well, let's just take this back.
Streets, parks,
Let's take us back.
planning, codes?
I think if this is gonna be something that is put onto the agenda, I think council should discuss it in a committee meeting.
You can do it as an ad hoc committee or even the government, what's our administration committee?
Administration
Well,
committee.
And I only say that because I think there's two parts to this. One is just a general discussion as to what type of matters are to be discussed within city council agendas. Do you limit it to issues that involve directly the citizens of Easton and as it pertains to the region, federal government, state government, but always going back to the region? Do you deal with issues of foreign affairs where you're speaking for all the citizens of Easton? And I understand we have a showing of citizens here. I don't know how many are from the city of Easton, but I know one thing: this was not broadly publicized for all the members of the city of Easton to have a discussion, nor do I think that city council should even be the party who entertains that. If we're going to do it on a broad regional basis, let Northampton County government be the host of that discussion and let the entire county get involved with it. They represent a broader constituency than the city of Easton. I know as a citizen of the city of Easton, I do not want city council to speak about complex foreign policy issues for me as a citizen to tell my congressperson or my senator how the city feels, or even how city council. I don't want city council to tell them how it feels because you're my representatives. And so I think you could form an ad hoc committee if you want to, but I think you got layers here. Before you even get to the subject matter, one of the layers are, what do we discuss? If the majority of council feels we should discuss all broad issues involving humanity, that's fine, because I'm not discounting humanity, but we got a hell of a lot of other conflicts going on in the world that we shouldn't be disregarding. I mean, I can't sleep at night, so I listen to BBC. And the types of atrocities that go on in Africa all the time between different factions is equals the type of things that we're unfortunately witnessing in the Middle East. But it's, as I say, that's so far beyond what city council members, you guys aren't even, I'm sorry, you're not competent to run for city council if this is what the agenda is. I want to see what your degrees are. But
So, Mr. Shear, I have a question for you. So, just to clarify, are you saying city council, local government, have no responsibility to talk about human rights?
I'm saying you should discuss that in a city council committee meeting so you debate with the input of whoever you want as to what the extent of what you want to cover. But we certainly, and you have repeatedly in the past, everyone on this city council that I know and I respect cares greatly about human rights without needing resolutions to prove that. I truly believe that. And that we have passed resolutions directly affecting people who live within our community, within the city of Easton, on human rights issues. There was the earlier resolution the mayor had introduced about both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. We've had issues dealing with gender choice where we've repeatedly addressed issues, but they ultimately come down to the things that impact and affect people who live within the city of Easton. And that's the distinction. But I'm not saying if city council feels that that's within your domain, and I as a citizen may feel that it shouldn't be, but I'm just one person. I'm just saying it makes sense to do it in a forum where you actually have that fair exchange of ideas and not presented as it is tonight.
So I think every region is either it's the Easton or Bethlehem or Allentown or the countywide, whatever. They have their own things to do. It's up to them if they want to do. Why do we need to wait for them to start something? And we have to prove. We document every single thing that happens in the city hall, right? Why can't we document our support for human rights?
Again, I don't see
Why-
anybody. you know,
Excuse me,
you
Ty.
keep saying that so that people believe it. I am not against human rights. I don't think anybody up here
May I-
is. But
May I speak? Sorry.
No,
hold on,
no,
hold on.
we
Hold on.
really, we're
we're
not
not-
against
we're not-
human
we're not-
rights.
we're
We-
beyond
but
that.
there
We're
is a
sorry, we're
procedure for
past.
doing this.
We've got to wait till the end of the meeting.
The
Let
point.
me just say one thing. Typically, when we're going to have a resolution or an ordinance on the agenda, we usually have a meeting, a committee meeting, the night before council meeting to vet this.
Correct.
To talk about the issues, to see if the resolution is written properly, just so that we'll know what to expect and what kind of a discussion we're going to have the following night. Now, we didn't have this discussion. Councilwoman Sultana did not call a committee meeting, so tonight is the first night that any of us are discussing this, and so. I certainly understand that there's going to be a lot of give and take and a lot of different opinions, but just because we're against the way the resolution is crafted doesn't mean we're against human rights. It's simply that's simply
true.
not the case.
That
isn't the case.
The other thing to keep in mind is that we have a way that we do business, the people business, and whenever a resolution is coming forth, may I please? Respect is due. Thank you. Way we do business here is that whenever we have a resolution, especially a resolution that is a very hot topic, as council members, we want to talk about it so that the wording is vetted and that we can pass something that we all agree. This came to the city clerk on a Thursday when it should have been to the city clerk a week ago. Council didn't have an opportunity to vet or do. We are for human rights, but we have a procedure that we must go through so that it was done right.
So, Mr. Ken, you have a resolution, right? Can you point out your objections in the resolution?
I'm not going to do that, Councilwoman,
Okay.
because I just stated it should have went through the proper channels so that the whole council could have had an opportunity to vet it, and we can all give our verbiage to it to make everyone in the community feel comfortable with it.
Council members, I know that you said that the time was up. If I may just ask, because I do believe that injustice has been done to all of you, and I do also believe that there's something to talk about. So if I may just kindly ask you to grant me the floor one more time. Sure. Thank you. Also, do I have to do the whole name thing again and make everybody know who I am? Great, thank you. Appreciate it. If I may just say, firstly, I do believe, rather than calling out our council members, calling them anti-humane, I do believe we need to take a step back. There is something important to be said about the work that you all are doing, and I do believe that there is something important that you can do. When conversations are being shut down, it happens at every level. In order for it to reach a national level, it has to be kind of huge. In order for it to reach a regional level, that's even harder actually, because when the nation is in an uproar, the federal government has to respond. The regional governments don't have to respond. City council, on the other hand, puts you in a direct tie to your people, right? You all are kind of the first level that we're going through. Again, I'm very sorry. I'm not super educated about everything that's happening with government as well as government policies, and I do apologize for that. Certainly, I do recognize that there might not have been proper procedures that were followed leading up to where we are now. But as we are here, I do again want to just bring up that it is important that we start taking a step, because until you decide as our council members that this issue is important, this issue is no longer important. Regional will not speak about it. National is speaking about it because they have to. The federal government has to respond to this issue. This is a world issue. Regional will not take our hearings. If this was hard to get into, imagine how hard regional is. They certainly have a lot of other issues to worry about, and without a precedence, they will not discuss. So all I'm asking for you is to set a precedence, to set a stage where we say, whether or not you agree on this issue, not at all important. What is important, however, is that we set the precedence to say this is worth talking about. Because I believe, as was brought up, I do not believe that by agreeing on anything here, we will change the whole global scale. The resolution that passes here will not actually stop Israel, but it'll take a very direct step in saying, at Hamas, that's it. As you brought up, let's bring that up. We all agree, I think, here, Hamas should not have done what they did. Additionally, Israel should not have responded in the way that they did, killing thousands more than Hamas did actually that day. That being said, all I'm asking again is, while I believe you did say that might equals peace in some situations, with all due respect, and again, I want you to know that I am speaking as somebody who does respect, and I believe all of us here were trying to show our respect. Some people might have gotten upset because of the situation,
Understood. It's
and I do apologize. But I would like to say, when does might not equal power? Because with so few Palestinians that are left in this land, I do believe if we do not take action now, Palestine will be gone. There won't be any peace left because it'll just be Israel. And that's my concern. Humbly speaking, we have seen large enough numbers are being killed. We do see that the solution on the table from Israel's side is to evacuate all of Palestine and move them into Egypt. And again, that doesn't feel like peace to me. That feels like displacing a large number of people so that you can take their land, and their land is no longer their land. So whatever you may believe, all I'm asking is that there is something wrong here. There is people dying, no matter what side you look at it. There is an issue to be discussed. Whether or not you believe that we have the power to do something, I'm telling you, factually, we're setting a precedence no matter what you do. And all I'm asking for is that precedence to say, this is worth discussing, because we all are worried about humanitarian issues. All of us, all of you included, as you've made clear. So all I'm asking is, while I do know you have a ceasefire proposal that is out, there is an importance in recognizing that while Israel was killed, a lot of Palestinians were killed in return, and there's a lot less of them right now in terms of land. Objectively, all I speak is from an objective standpoint. And so that's what I'm asking for you, is to consider that what you do right now is powerful in setting a stage for a larger global issue where people are on the line. Thank you all so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Anissa Muqtadir, A-N-N-I-S-A. Last name is M-U-Q-T-A-D-I-R. I live on 237 East Wilkes-Barre Street, Easton, PA 18042. For anyone that doesn't know, South Side, right up the hill. All right. I'm addressing Panto in this specifically, because you've shaken my hand, you've shaken my mother's hand, and you've shaken my father's hand. Mr. Ken Brown, you've also shaken their hands. I've lived here for 20 years. My mother has lived here since the 50s. Okay? So I am the citizen speaking up. These are my streets as well. I want to reference that I have voted in every single election since I was 18. I am now 25. My family has voted for you religiously for many years. We voted for her religiously the entire time that she's run. But my concern is that I wonder what you believe Israel pulling back is, because 4,000 people and 2,300 children have died every single day. We are seeing journalists put out on the news, this is what happens to us. We have no food, we have no water, we have thousands of people standing in line for bread. And you continuously made the comment, Hamas is in America, Hamas is Hamas that, without actually directly saying Palestine, Palestinian children, Palestinian people.
Never talked about Palestinian people. I gave the example of the taxi cab driver that I had in Israel.
One taxi cab driver in Israel who's trying to make a living. You went to Israel from May 4th to 11th in 2012, 2 months after you went to Literacy Day at Lafayette College and hugged me and all of my friends as teenagers. Yes, it was 2012. That was 64 years of occupation in Palestine. And now we're at 75 years. And it's clear, shaking Netanyahu's hand, gave you some kind of power because you believe that this isn't worthy. You say that you don't speak for the city of Easton. Actually, you do. Every single one of you do. And every time you discredit what she's saying, you are discrediting the people that voted her in. Every time you say, we don't want to hear, we care about humanitarian crisis, you are proving every second that you say we should word this differently that you actually do not care about humanitarian crisis. Take a look at a picture of what Israel looks like now, and then take a look at a picture of Palestine and Gaza right now. You tell me that a place that has no military versus a place that is funded by the United States with billions of dollars, you tell me what 100 million is going to do in humanitarian aid, and you say that it's too big for us. It is not too big. You have looked me in the face in elections and other places. You looked me in the face when my school came here to visit the city of Easton and talked about how we should run in the future. You've looked us in the face and said, we are a voice for you. So do not go back on your words now, because that's what you're supposed to be. It does start small. We tell people, start small if you don't know how to get bigger, because speaking about this makes waves go through, allows it to grow bigger. If you can't start small, then where are you supposed to start? You're not the voice of the city of Easton. You're not the voice. You're not the voice. You're not the voice. You're not the voice. You were voted in by the voices of the city of Easton. And look at all these people here, and I can guarantee you many of them are the city of Easton. I don't understand what the purpose of being so stubborn about this, the purpose of nitpicking at what she's saying and not understanding what it truly says. We are against genocide, illegal occupation. Look at how many people have died and look at the definition of genocide. Unless you don't want to acknowledge the genocide that also happened in this country as we stand on Lenape occupied land. Because in order to address that genocide, you would have to address the one that this country did. And every reenactment that you do on Heritage Day every single year to celebrate the reading of the Declaration of Independence here. That's what you do every single year. But that would be too much. You have a Christopher Columbus statue and less than a mile away, a Larry Holmes statue, my family member. Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me where it makes sense to put the colonizer and the colonized away when he removed the native language from their tongues. And what do you think is happening right now? Israel is trying to remove the people, their language, every single part of them. Netanyahu has said they will do absolutely anything to any country that supports Palestine, that supports them, will take every single cent of aid from the United States and support. You say the two-country solution in 1948 was good after a world war. Where was the goodness in that? Okay, well, you implied that, but tell me, you didn't want to start another world war, but you also stated that these were things that how we go about it as a country, how we view it, how we discuss it. We don't want to start another world war. We're having multiple world wars going on right now. We have multiple world wars. I got a loud voice. You could cut the mic and my voice is still loud.
I didn't cut the mic.
That's not true. That's true.
No,
You have 5
no.
minutes.
No, I am a citizen of Easton, and I'm telling you, look at what you're doing. Look at how you're supporting. You're laughing. You're grinning. She's sitting here standing up for so many.
You refuse to listen.
Standing up for so many people.
You're refusing to listen to the rules. You're not obeying the rules.
You're over here saying you're being pickety about everything that she's saying, but you are not supporting the end of a genocide. You are not supporting humanitarian, because when you get this picky, you're talking about picky.
My vote counts, and I'm not voting for this resolution.
And our vote counts.
But I'm not.
And my vote counts. And my parents' vote counts. And the people in this city vote counts. So you're saying it, mine does as well. What she says counts because we voted her in.
I have to put my name on this.
Okay,
I'm not
so
doing
what's
it.
the problem? You said you support humanitarian efforts.
This isn't humanitarian.
This is humanitarian. This is exactly humanitarian.
Hold it,
Maybe your
hold it,
daughters
hold
don't. You will not
Calm.
shut up.
Calm
You
down.
will not shut up.
Calm
You
down.
need to calm down.
I'm-
not listening. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the mayor. That
I'm just saying, let's do it in a civil manner.
Marched with us. How many of you marched with us in 2020? And you wanted to speak when we marched down these streets, and you acknowledged the Women's March, you acknowledged the Black Lives Matter March. Our struggles are the same. Our struggles as African Americans. We were brought here, and this land was colonized, and we were stripped of everything. And it is the same effort. It is the exact same effort, and you won't do that for Palestinians. But you will say, I will not tolerate any hate in this city. I will not tolerate Northampton County and the Greater Lehigh Valley and this committee and that committee, but you have an issue when we stand in front of you. When we stand in front of you showing, when we have pictures of children that have died, you do not care. 2,300 children.
Don't say I don't care. Don't put words in my mouth.
So everything that you're saying and
It's
how
not
you
implied.
imply it is
You're
exactly
implying.
what's
You're taking the implication that
happening.
you want to
Oh,
hear.
no. Look at exactly what you are
Ma'am,
doing.
ma'am.
Your
Hey,
own
hey,
mention-
hey.
If I can speak, if I can,
This is
Excuse me.
not going to
Excuse me.
end well because
Ma'am.
everybody's going to
if I
leave.
can, if I can say
I'm
something,
still
ma'am,
speaking.
under the
No,
rules,
you have your 5 minutes.
you have 5 minutes.
You had 5
If-
minutes,
Okay.
and
If
you're
you
up.
can't apply to the rules,
Council members,
There may be some other people that would like to speak, ma'am.
you're
I am not finished.
you are, ma'am, according to the rules.
5 minutes.
5
Public
minutes.
meeting.
I am not
5
finished.
minutes, that's the rules.
I am not finished.
Can I say something,
I am not
ma'am?
finished. You are
Could I
interrupting,
please
and
say
am not
something?
finished. And you, I don't know, you're interrupting me.
No, ma'am, when you came to, when you came to the podium, you were told your name, your address, and you have 5 minutes to speak.
Okay.
That is the rule. We gave you more than 5 minutes.
Is all we're worth is 5 minutes?
I'm saying, but we're trying to have, may
Out
I?
of respect to others.
May I? May I? Respect is due when given. And all I'm trying to tell you is, we hear you.
Oh, really? Are they trying to say that when he's yelling at me?
I'm not, well, ma'am, you were yelling yourself.
Did you see where it started? Where they yelling?
Ma'am, but let me just
Yeah,
speak
right there.
in calmness here. My point is this. We hear you. God, ma'am, I can't speak for the mayor. Ma'am, see, you're out of order, ma'am.
What is out of order?
Can I please speak? May I speak? I hear what you're saying. When you first come up, ma'am, respect. Respect, ma'am, respect. I'm trying to talk. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, you have to speak into the microphone. I didn't
With
cut
all
your
due
power.
respect, you did interrupt me.
I
And
know,
you're
ma'am.
telling her to respect. And
Ma'am.
she is also one speaking on my behalf. And every single one of these people will come up and speak. We can be here
I
till
agree.
10 p.m.
I don't
That's why there's a
disagree.
5-minute
That's why
limit
the
so
5
everybody
I don't
can
know,
speak and be
sir.
heard.
We said that in the beginning.
Can I suggest?
council members.
Can I suggest that this is, we're talking about something that is not on the agenda. You
voted to remove
suggested,
it.
you suggested that we give a courtesy. I would suggest that we can bring our schedule back. It won't take that long to finish, and then you could have the debate. But there's people who may be here for the other matters on the agenda, and you're not acting on. You have to act on those and get that business done tonight. So I think you should go back to the idea that public comment on all other matters.
Mr. Alon was correct. It was on the advertised agenda. So removing it from the agenda should not have removed it from the discussion. That's why I allowed her to speak.
Okay,
And
but,
allowed the others
The
to speak
housekeeping
as well.
order, Joel. I mean,
yeah, okay,
that's how we advertised it. I mean,
all right.
And there may
I
be
agree
others,
with you, but
and there may be others that
But the
would like to
rules are,
speak.
of the council are the rules. It's 5 minutes.
Yes.
I'd like to say something really quickly. I'm Palestinian. I am directly
Ma'am,
in.
could I have your name and address?
Yeah, it's Raya. RAYAABDELAAL.
I'm sorry, AB what?
ABDELAAL.
And your address?
371 Park Avenue, Nazareth. I'm speaking here with Miss Anissa.
That's fine.
My grandfather, in 1948, when he was 12, got on a boat, and they told him he can come back. My grandfather passed away in Syria. He was never allowed to come back. My mother was displaced 3 times to wars that the United States has had a hand in. I am a product of war. Okay? When you say that this is a hot topic, it hurts because my people dying is not a hot topic. This is Aiwani. He wanted to be a presenter. He's a child. He died at the hands of Israel. This is Ward. See Ward? Someone Someone saw this picture today and asked me if she was my child. This is another one of the Palestinian kids. She's really good at math. Her mom on Facebook said she was one of the top students and she's never gonna be able to go to college. This is Omar. You see Omar? He's very chatty. He talks all the time, but he also died with 12 members of his family. This is another family, 3 siblings that passed away. This is another one, and this is another one, and I have thousands more. Thousands. I have watched my people die, people that for years, this didn't start on October 7th. This did not start for me on October 7th. This started in 1948 when my grandparents got displaced on both sides, my mother's and my father's. I was not allowed to be a citizen of anywhere till I was 17. Anytime I messed up before I was 17, I was so scared that they would deport me. But then I would be like, where would they deport me to? I don't belong anywhere. When you question why this should be here, it makes me feel like you question the identity of all Palestinians in the United States. And when they record this, and 100 years from now, they look back, I want you to ask yourself, did you stand on the right side of history? Because people are gonna remember this. Yeah, okay, Easton's irrelevant, right? Sure, it's irrelevant on a grand scope. But what are people seeing when they read about Easton in 100 years? You know, the Nazis also said that we need to follow the rules when they were killing the Jews. They told people to follow the rules, and that's how the Holocaust started. The world said never again, but it's happening again. It's happening to my people. Do you think I want to be here right now? Don't you think I had a right to grow up in Palestine? I exist. I'm real. I'm a human. You see me, right? So when you're constantly denying and saying Israel this and Israel that and Israel, it makes me feel like I'm not important and none of the Palestinians that exist around the world. There's 15 million of us around the world. I have friends that still don't have citizenship anywhere that has suffered. My father, you know when my father got his citizenship? At 45. They used to just give him a card that says that he is a resident here, wherever he moved. So this isn't an issue that started for me on October 7th. I've been fighting for this since I was born. So please don't dismiss everyone's feelings. You see how many people showed up. The people have spoken. They've spoken. We are, right now, every single one of us, we're on the right side. So all your words, they matter. What you say matters. It will be remembered. So I'm asking you, I'm pleading with you. Richmond just passed, City Council of Richmond just passed a ceasefire resolution. It's making waves. It's all over the news. These decisions do matter, and people see them and they hear them. I know that you watch BBC and other media and you might think differently, but I'm asking you moving forward to do your own research and look elsewhere, because the media has been misreporting on what's actually happening. Today, about 30 bombs were dropped on a block. About 15 buildings have fallen. Gaza has run out of fuel. They don't know how to get the bodies out. Folks are texting their family members under the rubble. I read testimonies yesterday of people that are saying to their family members that live here, I'm not gonna get out, I'm sorry, goodbye. I'm screaming, nobody can hear me. That's it. That's all I have to say.
We're still under agenda items only. Anybody else would like to address the city council, please come up, give your name, address, and you have 5 minutes. Or if you want to violate the rules, I guess you can do that. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on in the agenda, Madam Clerk. We'll go to the consent agenda, please.
Okay, under the consent agenda, we have bill number 35, which would amend the 2023 general fund budget. We have bill number 36, which would amend the 2023 insurance casualty property fund budgets. We have a resolution approving a certificate of appropriateness for 106, 108 South 3rd Street, a resolution approving a certificate of appropriateness for 148, 152 South 6th Street, a resolution approving a COA for 65 North 4th Street, a resolution approving a COA for 54 Center Square. We also have a resolution authorizing the filing for a PennDOT grant, and this is for the Bush intersection at Bushkill, Pearl Street, and Bushkill Street and Bushkill Drive. We also have a resolution authorizing the sale through the bid process to sell a 2004 KME Predator fire pumper truck. And we have a resolution approving an encroachment agreement with Lana to provide a new bus shelter at West Nesquehoning and Center Streets.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
And Mayor Pianto?
Aye. Moving on to, there are no reports received by council, so I'll go on to committee reports. Finance Committee, Councilmember Brown.
No report, Mayor.
Economic Development Committee, Councilmember O'Connell.
I have no report, Mayor.
Planning and Codes Committee, Councilman Sultana.
I have no report, Mayor.
Councilman Ruggles, Public Safety Committee.
We just had a brief Public Safety Committee meeting last night to describe the LiDAR systems that our police department and fire departments are going to be accessing in the near future. And I think once everybody sees those, they're going to be pretty impressed with the technology that's available. So.
Thank you. Public Works Committee, Councilmember Ettinger.
I have no report, Mayor.
Administration Committee, Councilmember Milan.
I have no report, Mayor.
Report of the Solicitor, Mr. Shear.
There was an executive session held just before this meeting to discuss potential real estate acquisition, or at least I was told that.
It was.
Report of the Mayor. I just want to remind everybody that this week, if you plan on being in the Halloween parade, I'm wearing the current mask that I have on. If you in the Halloween parade, be at the starting position is the same position it's been for the last 10 years in Phillipsburg on South Main Street at the end by the fire department at the end of Main Street. Also, Friday, the two solicitors, Mr. Campos and I, and Mr. Hopkins, will be meeting to discuss the New England Hydro lease. We will be presenting you a lease in 2 weeks that we will now figure on being our best and final offer.
Yeah, as far as whether it shows up on the agenda, I would think we'll present it to the proposed tenant, and if they agree that they will sign it, it'll be on the agenda. If they don't want to sign it, there's no reason to put it on the agenda. It may be, actually, I shouldn't say that. It may be placed on the agenda but pulled if they don't want to sign it, because timing is so tight here between introduction of documents.
And that brings me to Bacon Fest, which is in the first weekend in November. I just want you to know that the county is not allowing the Bacon Fest committee to use their parking lots as a remote site. Also, the skaters meeting, I will invite 2 members of council, probably the chairman of the Public Works Committee, which since recreation comes under that, and the chairman of the Public Safety Committee, since we're talking about public safety down in Lehigh Drive. That skaters meeting is scheduled for November, and we'll set up their 501c3 so that we can start raising money from sponsors. We'll have a listing of naming rights for that, whether it be the bench or whatever, the actual park itself. And then we'll
Mayor,
also...
I'm sorry to interrupt. Chair of the Safety Committee and what else?
Chair of the Public Safety Committee and Chair of Public Works.
Thank you.
Also, I want to just recognize the fact that we just got another $120,000 grant from the federal government for safe streets. If we want to talk about what's really important to the city right now, our streets are not safe. People are distracted driving, they're driving faster than they should be driving. So we have $120,000 to take a look at how we make our streets safer for walkers, bikers, rollers, and drivers. Since most of our streets were designed in the 19th century, we're in the 21st century, so 200 years old, it becomes really important that we look at ways of calming the traffic as we're doing up on Cattell Street. And maybe we'll be doing that around the rest of it. Also, within the next 2 months, you'll see the arches over the 6th and Northampton Street and out at 13th Street, welcoming people to the West Ward. It's part of the Choice Neighborhoods Grant, $150,000 that was given for implementation and planning. And that's the end of my report. So we'll move on to
Administration.
old business.
Report administration.
Oh, yeah, Louis.
Just the only update is that, I don't think you said this, Mayor, you and I had attended, the Link Summit.
Oh, Link, yeah.
And the topic at the Link Summit was, DEI. The Link Summit, it's a group of leaders, business leaders throughout the Lehigh Valley. So, the summit was hosted, by Olympus. And there were just the largest companies from the Valley present talking about DEI, and best practices. That's it, Mayor.
Louis, I'm sorry, what's DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Diversity, equity.
I'll send you my notes.
Thank you.
My notes.
Appreciate it.
There's no correspondence, there's no unfinished business. We'll move right into new business, Madam Clerk.
We have bill number 37 being introduced by Mr. Ettinger, which would amend chapter 475 sewers of the Code of the City of Easton.
So introduced.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. Ettinger approving an agreement with Colliers Engineering for stormwater engineering work for the city's MS4 program at a cost of $47,500, with Williams Township paying half of that cost.
So moved.
Second.
Move to second discussion. Just so the public that's here knows, Williams Township is also required to be under the MS4 program, which is a federal program for the removal of sediment going into our waterways. You may know that the city of Easton charges roughly $7.86 a month. Palmer Township just added $20 a month to their bill for removal of sedimentation. Williams Township decided that they would go with us, and the big area that we would do is looking at all the water coming off of 78 into Center Street. The swale on Center Street becomes flooded with a normal rain, let alone a bad rain. And we would look to build a detention basin up to collect the water and detain the water from coming into Center Street, and they would be looking to pay for that as well. So we're looking at it. It's a good collaboration with Williams Township, and it'll solve a problem on the south side that is really, really bad.
Okay. Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
And Mr. Milan.
Aye.
We have a resolution also being introduced by Mr. Ettinger approving an agreement or a proposal with In Situ Form Technologies, and that's also for sewer rehabilitation, lining areas of Canal and Nesquehoning Streets.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
And Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Mr. O'Connell, which would express the city's commitment and approving the filing of an application for a grant at the mill at Easton in the Phase 2 for $779,264.
Mr. Kingsley, you want to come up and let's move it first. I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. You want to come up and just explain what we have in mind there?
Yeah, so we've been working with the developer of Phase 2, Mr. Tim Harrison, in trying to secure a tenant for that property. And one of the things that we have been trying to focus on is bringing a health clinic to the south side. Mr. Harrison has been working with Valley Health Partners, which is a nonprofit affiliate of Lehigh Valley Health Network, to actually operate that health clinic, and he is in the process of completing, I think, that relationship. And one of the things we're trying to do is provide some support for equipping and furnishing the space that they would occupy.
Thank you. Welcome. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
And Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Before we move on, I do have an added to my, I see Hagai back there. You were hiding, I didn't see you before. Hagai is here. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, I gave out the awards, the Mayor's Restoration Awards. Hagai wasn't able to make that, but since he's here tonight, I brought it with me. Hagai, I want to give this to you for 935 Northampton Street, 915 Northampton Street. The old Napa Auto Parts store.
Oh,
Yeah.
Beautiful job.
Take a look at it. Looks great.
Wait till you see Spring Garden.
That's looking real good, especially the pool.
Can we do a picture at some point?
At some point.
Mayor, what's the name of that recipient?
It's called Platform 5. They got the award.
Platform
I've been to a
5.
number of meetings there. It's just
It's
a
beautiful.
beautiful space. You
Yeah, it
did a great job on it.
Great
Did a
space.
great job.
Okay.
Okay, we can move forward.
Okay, we have a resolution being introduced by Mr. O'Connell approving a liquor license transfer from Bethlehem to 683 Walnut Street.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion. This is an existing Black and Blue restaurant cafe. I see no reason not to support this, so let's have a roll call vote.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
And Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Okay. All right, we remove that item. And our last resolution is being introduced by Mayor Panto, and this is authorization to proceed with an action for a purchase agreement for the old Easton Iron and Navy, You got Easton Iron and Metal from the Redevelopment Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye.
At this point in the meeting, we have public comment on any item affecting the city of Easton. Melanie.
Melanie Morrow, 254 West Madison Street, Easton, PA, 18042.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk. I'm here because there's been some mention in the news about the possible sale of our water supply to a private for-profit company. Because there has been little to no media follow-up on this issue, I have a few comments and questions for our city council. Many of your citizens, including myself, do not support privatizing our water supply. Consider what an essential natural resource it is for us. Think about national water shortages that are in the news media, depletion of our nation's water table, our groundwater supply, clean water issues, and who knows how these issues will impact us in the future. Sorry, I'm nervous. You can see why local authority ownership is the only way that citizens can maintain meaningful control over our water supply. In addition to potential ecological issues, privatization can also have immediate impacts on your citizens. For one, consultants regularly overvalue the worth of public water systems, and since Pennsylvania laws, Act 12, allow companies to overpay the fair market price, these higher prices are recouped by charging their customers higher prices. Municipalities with privatized water systems average water bills 84% higher than those owned by public providers. Operational savings don't seem to be an issue since the mayor himself last year stated that Easton Suburban Water Authority does a great job of providing clean drinking water to our residents. There is no guarantee that a private company would do better. They may even neglect infrastructure maintenance in favor of higher profits. Speaking of profits, rates would go up without any input from the public or elected officials. Despite promises of rate freezes and rate caps at the time of sale, companies like Aqua Pennsylvania break those promises and raise rates without any consequences. Level of service is usually compromised to get better return on investment by larger companies. Currently, when I called Easton Suburban Water about an issue, it was immediately addressed by a real person. On water quality, how do we know that we can trust a profit-seeking company with our critical infrastructure? How do we know they will make adequate investments into our water system? I know that legacy pensions have been cited by the mayor for years as a financial burden. However, if those have been mitigated by moving toward defined contribution plans, those costs will lower over time, possibly within my lifetime, but once we sell our public utility, it will be gone forever. Think carefully about the impacts on your children and your grandchildren. This idea is like selling your home and continuing to rent it from the buyer. You are still responsible to pay for all of your taxes, utilities, repairs, but now your rent is covering the mortgage costs too. And your landlord might not be very responsive to repairs if it hurts the bottom line. Anyone can see that this is a bad deal for all of us. It doesn't make sense to sell out Easton's assets at a time when our local economy and building revitalization are flourishing. I urge all of those on City Council to support authority ownership and keep our natural resource in the citizens' hands. Considering that several people are up for election, my question to each of you, who supports privatization? Who supports authority ownership? And Mr. Mayor, where are you in your negotiations with private companies? Has any offer been made? And who is advising the city on this issue? Thank you.
Number one, we have not met with anyone because that's not our intent. Our intent is not to privatize. Our intent is to renegotiate the lease. However, we want Easton Suburban Water Authority to know that if they don't want to renegotiate the lease, we will sell. It's a negotiations tactic. I hate to say it at a public meeting, but you asked a question and I gave it up. I mean, no. The fact of the matter is, if it comes, it's worth over $200 million. You're right. But right now, we're the citizens of Easton, the 29,000 people live in Easton, are subsidizing water rates for the people in the townships that we built the plant for. So it becomes
And the lease was negotiated many years ago. And so that lease amount is very low because of when it was originally negotiated.
So
That's really
I
comforting to hear,
understand-
but I just want you to know that you're on watch because privatization is not the answer.
I want you to know that I told you more than I should have because I respect you as a former council member. We are not going to do anything that's going to hurt. And I even said in my budget presentation that if the sale for $200 million goes through, we would make sure that any increase in the water rates would be borne by a decrease in property tax
Mayor,
for the residents.
if I can jump in, there's one more that you missed. So there's two options there
Right.
that you presented. The third option was that the city would manage directly the water authority.
Right.
'Cause
Right,
now
that's our third option, is to take it back.
So to answer the lady's question specifically, there's three different options, but nothing has come back to be presented to council yet.
And
So-
we haven't met with any private, I mean, I get them all, they all have called.
Yeah.
All the consultants have called. I've not met with any of them because that is not our first option, it's their third option.
And ultimately, with respect to the issues of confidentiality, this is a delicate negotiation process, and the give and take is going to be shared with members of city council in executive sessions only as this process unfolds with the advice of outside experts, so we understand what we're dealing with as it pertains to evaluation. So I just so we don't get another question until something's presented, this process will be handled with the advice and input of city council, and eventually with some final product hopefully being presented to
I think the city was in a
council and
much
the public.
different position when they leased it back in 2006. And the $1 million looked good, but they put a 2% increase on it each year, which hasn't even kept up with inflation. But your concerns are duly noted.
My name's Robert Brent. My address 522 Iron Street, Easton, Southside.
And spell your last name, please.
Brent, B-R-E-N-T.
Robert.
Yes. So I came only for the hot topic that we had earlier today, and I don't plan to get emotional about it. As you can see, I'm just a white guy. I don't have any skin in the game. I'm not any Jewish heritage or Palestinian heritage. But I did support the ceasefire agreement because I felt like it's a very timely, hot topic that needs to be out quickly, not drug through weeks and weeks of future bombings and deaths while we decide on a committee to form the right words. I hope if you're going to go down the committee path, you do it really quick because people are dying, and that's a sad state. And I'm here without any skin in that game because I just have that humanitarian calling that you claim also to have, and I think that we need to do something. And I do agree with the prior speaker that mentioned that, you know, your voice matters and setting a precedence matters. I'm a little confused about the concern that this isn't a city council member or city council issue. Mr. Mayor, if you did you not hold up a resolution of your own for ceasefire?
Yes.
Where was that going to go if not here?
Well, I wasn't sure that it was going to be removed from the agenda. I had a backup. That was my plan B. If it's not
So-
removed from the agenda, I'll introduce a new amendment.
So will yours go down the committee path as well?
Yes.
It will, okay. Well, regardless which one goes down this committee path or both, I hope they do so very quickly. And I am in favor of extremely strong language around this. I think the media, the president, everybody tends to lean in a very Israeli direction on this. And what we hear in the news is extremely skewed. And that's why you see so many people that are upset and hot about it, and you're going to see a lot more of them. I recognize them. I've seen them in a lot of marches, and you're going to see a lot more of them. It's not going away. And I don't think it's going to go away just with a ceasefire either, because these people do have skin in the game, and they want land back. They want freedom and rights back. They want a lot more than just a ceasefire, and rightfully so. Imagine where we would be. You know, I've considered the gun owners of the world, and that, you know, so many of them feel like, well, if anybody tried to take over our country, they'd break out their guns and we'd have a civil war right here in the country, right? Well, they don't have those luxuries over there. I mean, it's a very militant operation that they live under, and all of the freedoms that we enjoy, they don't have that. They don't have the ability to defend themselves. Instead, they have the United States giving billions of dollars, and I'm saying billions with a B, to Israel to enforce its regime. And you know, maybe Hamas shouldn't have done what they did, and certainly innocent Jews have passed and been killed, and somehow, you know, we tend to want to overreact on the Israeli side, and we have to have more deaths than we lost, right? And it's a back and forth, and it has been for 70 years, and you all have learned the history by now because it's in the news everywhere. But anyway, please do consider putting forth something to Susan Wild that says we want something done, and we, as a city, want and stand behind a ceasefire, and do it as quickly as possible.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Robert.
much, Robert,
Thank you
for
so
coming.
much.
I appreciate that.
Put it in good perspective.
You know, my name is Rudy Fries. Live at 1380 Palmer. I earlier came by. I dropped off a presentation I wanted to do earlier. We're a rideshare company. We're doing free rides.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
Sure. We're a rideshare company giving free rides to the consumers. So we're going to be starting the beta service out here in Easton in the next 2 to 3 months. So I wanted to present this out to the committee and also to the council. Get your thoughts, see what your
How do you say the name? Fure?
free.
Oh, free.
Yeah, I tried to get the name. I tried to get free.com. I couldn't get it because the guy was like,
It's
yeah,
already
$18 million. I don't got that. So I just did wordplay, and it sounded, and I was like, all right, cool.
Good point.
But yeah, I wanted to present it tonight, but since we had this little emotional thing going on, I don't want to do it now, but I figured I say what's up. Figure do another meeting later down the road. But yeah, the idea is pretty simple. We got funded from Cyan Bannister out in Silicon Valley. We met with Jason Caladenis, David Sachs, a couple other investors as well. Trying to meet with this guy as well, but we'll see. But go ahead.
You can actually meet with the appropriate council person.
Yeah, that's what I want to do too as well.
But I mean, it can be vetted at a committee meeting, as we were talking about before, and you can get it on the agenda and make a presentation.
Awesome. All right, let's do that. Cool.
I'm just saying, I think that might be your best.
All right, so I mean, yeah, all right, so we'll do that then.
That's you, Mr. O'Connell.
Okay.
Right? On economic.
I haven't had a chance.
I guess we have to sit down and make a schedule and.
Yeah, I'll talk to you after I'll speak to you after the meeting. Well,
Awesome. Cool, I'm set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I've waited to be hopefully the last one. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Hagai, Hagai. Last name is Feiner, F as in Frank, Einer. I've been around for a while.
Can I just have an address?
Address, I'm in Palmer Township.
I need an address.
Through 3961 Mountain View Avenue.
Thank you.
And this has been an emotional evening. It's really, I'm glad that I came early to hear everyone's perspective. I think a lot of great arguments were made. And I'm here to present my own view, which is the Jewish view, the Israeli view that I have personally. I'm not speaking for everybody, speaking for myself. I grew up in Israel, born and raised there. I immigrated here in 1998, the age of 22, with really not much, and have built myself in the land of opportunity. I've seen firsthand the impact of terror, of living in Israel. My sister was injured and had half of her leg blown off by a Hezbollah terrorist just shooting over the border from Lebanon into Israel. I've lost friends, and I also lost a family member about 3 weeks ago in Gaza. His body was found shot in the head in Gaza. He was used as a human shield, dragged back there, and then disposed of when no longer needed. And I feel all of this pain in the room, and all of this pain is real, valid pain. And yet, when I see a city council member promoting an agenda, promoting one side of the story, promoting some things that are not facts, that are speculation, then ending up with, if we see posts of Israel bombs a hospital, 500 dead, then we see a video of Hamas, Iran, ISIS launching rockets at Israel. One of them fails, ends up crashing on a hospital. No apology, right? No backtrack, no apology to me or anybody else. Ms. Sultana has an agenda. Beyond the pain, there's an agenda that is brought into the city council, steered in a certain direction, and there are lies that are being spread on the internet about my people, which also incites for violence. This is not just a call for a ceasefire. There was never a call for the release of the American hostages that are still being held in Gaza. Where is that? What is your real interest in this city council position? And I know that this hurts. It hurts me too. It really does. And when I see this, and no one says anything, and those online posts as a council member keep showing up, it hurts me, and there's a community behind me that won't speak, that it hurts as well. So if you're going to take a stance, the real challenge is, if you're going to look into it, yes, Israel has existed as a state 75 years, very painful to the Palestinian people, very painful for those who have been displaced. Israel is not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And so the only way is real peace. And what we've discovered is that may not be achievable, right? When our children are beheaded. No posts about that. It's condemnable. But did you actually condemn it? Because I will condemn Israel's acts against any innocent person, but Israel's also fighting guerrilla warfare, right? Where Hamas is embedded within a civilian population. And I'll tell you, if Israel dropped 6,000 bombs and killed 4,000 or 5,000 civilians, which is a lot. And it is all regrettable to me. Right? I am heartbroken over all of it. I can tell you, I was in the Air Force for 4 years. With 6,000 bombs, there's a lot more damage that could be done in the most densely populated place on earth. And yet, Israel sends out warning leaflets, broadcasts. Everybody should get out. We're going after Hamas. We're going after tunnels. And I don't know where I am on my 5 minutes. All I'm saying is there are two sides to this story. 8 seconds. And we have a city council member misrepresenting the facts. So I'm waiting for you to start displaying both sides of the story to have some balance here. And same for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Charles Rosenzweig. I'm a retired academic residing in downtown Easton.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Rosenzweig.
And your address?
Governor Wolf Building.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm speaking in favor of the ceasefire now resolution that Tayyaba Sultana put forward and presented to the city council. I am an American Jew, albeit a secular one, who stands, as many of my fellows do, with the Palestinian people in this dire hour. We need a ceasefire now. We need the hostages released alive. We here and everywhere must speak out, because at present this campaign of collective punishment by the Israelis is being done with the full support of our country's government and military. Indeed, with our own U.S. military forces poised to respond if necessary. It's being done with billions of our dollars pledged by our government to support the wiping out of Gaza in revenge for the unpardonable attack by Hamas, a religio-political group with an armed wing, which has ruled there in the Gaza ghetto. The killings of civilians in military conflict is deplorable, no matter who does it, whether Hamas or the IDF. But the killing of a child cannot be answered with the blood of other children, more and more children. This is not civilized. This is barbaric. Barbaric, though it is the cold-blooded plan of the Netanyahu government to do that and more, to literally erase Gaza in revenge for murders carried out by an armed group, itself seething with revenge for the sustained dispossession and disenfranchisement and debasement of the Palestinians. The imprisonment of Gaza for years behind a high-tech prison wall at its borders. We cannot abide the ethnic cleansing that Netanyahu stands for. We cannot accept the illegal and immoral idea of collective punishment. We cannot acquiesce in U.S. support for ordered mass population transfers. We cannot allow continuing and intensifying carpet bombing with the support of our government. The utterly hopeless and worsening conditions of occupied Gaza has bred violent resistance and desperate actions, which cannot themselves be condoned, but the overwhelming force of the Israelis, who've maintained an unjust apartheid state, cannot be given a green light by the West to respond with a genocidal plan. So, with Tayyaba Sultana, I say, we, at this municipal level, as citizens and as Estonians, need, as people are trying to do around the country and literally around the world, in city after city, to tell our representatives in Congress, in the Senate, that what we stand for: ceasefire now, end the bombing, end the mass displacement, allow aid to reach Gaza unimpeded, stop the announced land invasion, and help, rather than hinder, the efforts towards addressing the root causes of this conflict. I urge you to support the resolution and I urge you to know in your hearts that calling for peace and criticizing the current Israeli militarism is not an act of anti-Semitism, but of human compassion, humanitarian concern for all peoples. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. R. Anyone else want to address City Council?
Yes, Mayor, I have a few things to say. Mr. Hager, I think he left if he's not here.
Right there, Mr. Fagan.
So you said I have an agenda. I want everyone to look back. 3 of my children who have been holding the signs, ceasefire now. Those are my kids. That's the agenda I have. That's the agenda, ceasefire. Council members, I have read this before and I am going to say this again. Standing up for human rights doesn't mean you are anti-Semitic. Saving Palestinian life does not mean you are being pro-Hamas. Passing this resolution or moving this resolution is the bare minimum we can do. So today, I do stand, even though the resolution is removed, but I do stand before the rest of the council and the Palestinian and Israeli people, Jewish people actually, sitting in front of us. I'm speaking with the heavy heart, burdened by the pain and suffering endured by the Palestinian and Israeli people. It is tragedy that has unfolded for decades. A story of injustice, oppression, and ethnic cleansing. We cannot remain silent any longer. We must raise our voices against this grave violation of human rights. Cutting water and electricity off for 2.3 million innocent Palestinians, half of whom are children, is not the answer. Ethnic cleansing is not the answer. The bloodshed in Palestine and Israel is mounting, with more than 6,500 killed in Palestine, including 2,300 children, according to UNICEF and UN. In the last 18 days, which comes to killing, as I said before, 128 per day. Hospitals have collapsed. There is no medicine, no oxygen, no fuel. It's a dire humanitarian disaster. Killing over 6,000 civilians, including over 2,000 children, is not self-defense. It's a war crime. It's a violation of international human rights. It's an ethnic cleansing. It's a genocide. There are the children killed by Israeli airstrikes. Those pictures that Raya showed, those were children. Those children were not terrorists. Look back and please, Raya, maybe that can melt down their hearts. Those children are not numbers. They were people. They were human beings. Israel dropped estimated 12,000 bombs since October 7th on a trapped population. And I mentioned this before, and I'll say that again. It come out to nearly 700 bombs per day. 170,000 housing units are destroyed, and over 1 million civilians are displaced. Israel received billions in U.S. military aid and is likely to receive billions more to support this war. The U.S. therefore bears responsibility for the conduct of Israel's war, despite knowing there is no military solution to this conflict, and there never has been in the last 70 years. There is no humanitarian aid that can be addressed if more killings are going on in Gaza. It's illegal to target civilians. It's illegal to carpet bomb and destroy entire neighborhood and apartment buildings. It's illegal to bomb schools. It's illegal to bomb mosques. It's illegal to bomb churches. Killing over 6,000 civilians in an eye blink is not fighting against terrorism. It is committing terrorism. Families have been torn apart. Neighborhoods are leveled and lives are shattered. Millions of innocent children have been robbed their childhood and forced to grow up in a world filled with fear and trauma. Meanwhile, the UN has warned that Gaza faces a risk of an infectious disease outbreak amid a lack of water and sewage contamination. The siege has created a humanitarian crisis with no access to water, healthcare, fuel, electricity, and food. We cannot stand by quietly while innocent lives are put at risk. We cannot turn a blind eye to the atrocities committed against the Palestinians. We cannot ignore the countless lives lost, the tears shed, and the dreams shattered. The world must recognize that the Palestinian struggle is not just a political issue, it is a humanitarian crisis. It is a matter of justice, for equality, and the right to exist. We cannot allow the Palestinian people to be erased from history, to be forgotten amidst the chaos and turmoil of our world. We must stand in solidarity with the Palestinians, demanding an end to the ethnic cleansing that has plagued their lives for far too long. We must call upon our government, our leaders, and the international community to take immediate action to put an end to this injustice. And just to be clear, it's also mentioned in my resolution, the Israeli civilians, but I'm gonna say this again. Just to be clear, we don't stand here to justify any innocent lives lost on any sides. We mourn the 1,400 deaths in Israel as well. However, using those deaths to justify the loss of over 6,000 innocent lives is nothing short of barbarism. We are here to demand an end to these killings and return to civilized values. The ongoing violence and loss of life on both sides is tragic and unacceptable. While we mourn the deaths of thousands, I demand, Congresswoman Susan Wild, Governor Josh Shapiro, Senator Bob Casey, and Senator John Fetterman to call for an immediate ceasefire. Israel and Palestinians must not be bargaining chips, and their lives must be protected through diplomacy and the new solutions. President Biden and our leaders must publicly call for an immediate ceasefire and de-escalation, demand the protection of all civilians, including securing the release of hostages, and tell the Israeli government to turn on electricity in Gaza and allow humanitarian aid for Palestinians to enter. Council members, we have done so many great things for our community. From declaring gun violence as a public health crisis to passing the resolution that ensures women's right to choose, LGBTQ rights, and recognize Black History Month. I request you to go back maybe at the next council meeting or for the special meeting and move on with this resolution to lead an example that all cities should follow. Let's become the first city in the entire Pennsylvania and the second city in the United States to call our leaders for an immediate ceasefire to ensure peace in the region. In the world of Nelson Mandela, we know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. Let us heed these words and work tirelessly toward a world where justice prevails and where every human being is treated with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for your words. I believe that we would have had a better outcome if we would have had followed the steps that are in place. As I stated earlier, this resolution only came to council yesterday. Had it going through the proper channels, through committee, we all could have vested in this, and the outcome would have been greater. I believe there's points on both sides. I believe that we can come to a compromise. The bottom line is that it just came to us late, and this is not the first time a resolution has come to us in a late form where council looks like it doesn't care. Council does care. But if we don't have an opportunity, if you put a contract in front of me tonight and ask me to pass it, how can I do that? Is it fair to the resolution? Is it fair to the people that are affected? We're held in a higher standard. And being held in a higher standard means we, of all people, need to follow the rules. This rule was affected because it was not done right. My prayer is that all have peace in their lives. Not just one, but all. We're all affected one way or the other, whether our faith, our nationalities, or what have you. We're all are affected. And the only way to be effective is to do it the right way. And I hope that it comes through a committee and that we can invest in this thing the proper way and come out with a better outcome. Tonight, I don't even know how many people was here, but I don't think the whole public really knew that was going to happen tonight because it was not put on the agenda until such late. So only ones that really knew was those who had connection to it, other than whether it be Facebook or whatever media. That's how people probably found out about it. But I hope you understand where I'm coming from and where this council is coming from. We are affected by what happens, but we do need to do it in the right manner.
Mr. Ken, I just want to clarify. I think you have either you misreading the agenda or either, I don't know. It is in the agenda. And I sent out to Mr. Rita on time, and it was published on time. So
That cannot be true.
Well, Mr. Brown, with all due respect, I mean, it was in the packet on Friday.
Right, I understand that, but I said that it wasn't enough time for us to get through committee. That's the
Right,
point.
no, I guess my question, I mean, I've been hearing this all night, and with all due respect, I get confused about how we operate as a legislative body. And obviously the mayor is the president of council. I'm not sure we pick and choose what goes to committee. You know, I introduced legislation years ago that basically requested that all stuff went to committee just for a review. And the comments I heard back from my colleagues was that, if I recall correctly, that I was going to stop city business because of my legislation. So I withdrew it. I mean, I agreed. But if we're going to pick and choose what should go to committee, then it should be a more formal process then. I mean, I'm not agreeing with this resolution. I think just for housekeeping purposes, I mean, this was in the agenda on Friday. It was properly advertised. So I'm not sure if we can sit here and debate procedure because, I mean, if we're going to nitpick, legislation, I mean, half the things on this agenda weren't presented to committee. So either we're going to do it entirely or we're not. I mean, I think it's not fair to, just pick one piece of legislation to debate. And it went to committee, that's all.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Councilman. I'm not. I definitely not. But this is not the first time that we've had this conversation.
100%. 100%.
So I'm not disagreeing.
I just think.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to take an opportunity while the citizens right before you bang the gavel.
You could have sat down, actually. No one's going to.
Well,
Same effect.
it's Joel Shear, and I'll use 125 South 3rd Street as my address for tonight. But I am a citizen within the city of Easton, and I work in the city of Easton, and I am not going to talk about the merits of this resolution. I just want to repeat what I said earlier. This issue, I mean, Hagai gave a one perspective. I am sure that if this was a session at Lafayette College, let's say, with an entire auditorium and an actual agenda where there was give and take and discussion, this issue is so complicated. There are so many nuances, and as I said earlier, I think every person on this council who I know for a long time truly cares about humanity. I mean, the amount of people who who die all the time because of so many things wrong within the political world. I mean, the religion being the cause of so many people dying. I mean, it's all terrible, but it's a forum that we need to discuss, I think, as a community somewhere other than city council. I really think that one of the things that city council has to talk about and reflect is where do we draw the line on taking positions? Because as I said, I could sit down and I could come up with 20 other conflicts where there are just as many people, innocent people dying, that we've said nothing about. And if we're going to start talking about it, we better talk about everything, that, including things in this country beyond our own borders. So I just ask council to consider, when you do have a committee meeting, are there certain areas that we're going to say, if that humanity is all of our concern, but City of Easton business should be focused on a more narrow area within our region, our community, because it's just, I think there's an agenda that we need to follow, that you need to focus your time on, and that is not to say you can't do two things at one time. That's not to say we can't have community forums and individuals should write to their legislators whatever way they think of support. I just don't want my city council speaking for me on an issue that is so remote from city council, and which I know from all my education and my experience and my family history is so much more complicated. I mean, it breaks my heart that the entire Middle East got structured the way it is, but we got to go back then to the Turks, and we got to go back to the occupiers, the British and the French, and the way they left that. But it's very complicated 75 years later. I respect all humanity. I just don't think city council is the proper place for this particular type of issue, and I thank you.
Mr. Shi, I think we do talk about other deaths and everything, right? When we talked about public safety, when we talk about safe roads, safe pedestrians, like bicycle lane or everything, we do talk about safety, right? And it is for deaths.
I think what Mr. Scheer is talking about is more other things that are happening in the world, and that's where my conflict is in this whole thing. In Ukraine, there are hundreds of thousands. There have been cities that have been leveled. We've not spoken a word about that. In Sudan, we have a civil war going on. Children are dying daily there. We have not spoken a word about that. And that's where I have a conflict, is that, I have many times talked about the Palestinians and how bad I feel for the Palestinians in the Gaza area and in general. But I also feel bad for the Ukrainians. I mean, they have had a large portion of their country taken over just because somebody wanted to come in and take it over. And that's to me, that's wrong, and there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people, civilians, children, civilians that have been killed because of indiscriminate missiles that have been launched into Ukraine. And have we said anything about that?
We should.
No.
We should.
Well, I would fully support a resolution talking about we should have in my opinion, we should have a general resolution saying that we are against these types of actions, But I think pointing to this one particular one, and a lot of the discussion I heard tonight was a one-sided discussion, okay? And very, very rarely did I hear the word Hamas come out, okay? And that is to me, that is the issue. You can say the Palestinians, but Hamas is there keeping the people in a particular area. I mean, and I don't know all of the stuff of this, and I agree with Mr. Shearer. This is so complicated. We start making resolutions in that, we don't even understand what's going on, and you know, it's just an enormous complication, you know. And my point is, though, is that there are many things throughout the world where there are issues that you're talking about, and why should we focus on this one? Because if we do, then that's wrong to me. I think we should focus on all of those particular issues. And to get to that is an enormous issue. I think that's probably why most local governments have stayed away from it, is because how do I identify all of these things that are going on in the world today? I don't have the time to do that, you know.
So it's a political office. If you don't have time to do that, maybe this is not for you.
Come on, Taiva.
Please, because this is a political office. Political office.
That's a
means we are
terrible
paying
thing to say.
attention. That means we are paying
be
attention
ashamed.
what's going on around the world. If we are not, it's easy to educate yourself. It's about human beings. We are still at the end of the meeting. We are still talking about Hamas and Israel, but we are not talking about civilians.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but our first priority is you say we're political, but our first
Our
priority is
first
the business of the
people.
city.
People.
City of Easton, when you got sworn in,
Come
what
on,
did it,
we-
what did it say?
I think he
When
makes
you
a.
got
I
sworn
think.
in.
Please.
Hold on,
People.
I'm at the
We-
point where
I
there's
swore
adjournment.
in.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will make the motion.
Moved.
Second.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. O'Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana.
Aye.
Mayor Panto.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Thank you.